Hi everyone, welcome to the channel Sluggers Brew for your CAT VRC preparation. And today's session will be continuing with the RC that we had started in the first part. This RC was asked in your CAT exam in the year 2007. I've titled the RC as Difficulties Historians Face, 603 words, 3 questions. As I said, this is the second part of the session. In the first part, I've already explained the RC in detail using a schematic diagram. In this part, we shall be discussing the questions. Okay, and now for those of you who have not attempted the questions so far, you can do so by clicking on the link which is available in the description of the video. If you have not watched the first part, the passage explainer part, again the link to that video is also available in the description, and the link to join the Telegram channel for Sluggers Blue for your CAT VRC preparation has also been provided in the description of the video. Okay, so let's start. Okay, now for those of you who might be watching these sessions for the first time, I'll just take you very briefly through the structure of the sessions. See, every single session caters to one RC, okay, and a session is made up of two parts. The first part is where I explain to you the passage in detail, paragraph by paragraph, and the second part is where I take you through the questions, where we discuss the questions. Okay, you are expected to have attempted the passage and read the passage and attempted the questions by yourselves. The link to do the same is available in the description of videos of both the parts. Okay. All right. Now, 40 such sessions make up a course that is titled as an Anthology of RCs for your reading comprehension preparation for the CAT. All right. So I hope that's clear. Let's start. Question 1. Why do islands with considerable degree of isolation provide valuable insights into human history? The apt point of reference for this is here, where the author notes comparisons can utilize large islands that have developed complex societies in a considerable degree of isolation, and then he goes on to list those islands. Okay, so what we're looking for here is why do islands with considerable degree of isolation provide valuable insights into human history? Okay, so let's look at the options one by one. First one says isolated islands may evolve differently, and this difference is of interest to us. There are two problems we have with this option. The first problem is that it says may evolve differently, okay, which seems to imply that the islands might evolve differently from this point onwards. Okay, now note what the author says. The author says comparisons can also utilize large islands that have developed complex societies in a considerable degree of isolation. Have developed is present perfect tense, which means that the author is concerned with how they have developed up until this point, not how they may evolve from this point onwards, which the option A seems to imply. So that's the first problem. Second problem with this option is that it talks only about how they may have evolved. See, the isolated islands have been offered as an example of natural system to be studied, right, for comparative analysis. How they evolve differently is the effect part. The option says something about the effect part, but it says nothing about the causative factor, what might have caused that difference in evolution. Okay, so it is totally silent on what may have been the factors which may have caused this different kind of evolution. So that's the second problem with this option, and hence it can be eliminated with capital E. Okay. Next, option B. Isolated islands increase the number of observations available to historians. The author wants historians to consider isolated islands because these islands might have had different set of causative factors which may have resulted in a different kind of evolution of human history on those islands. Okay, so both the different evolution and different causative factors that cause that need to be part of the option. That's what the insight, that's where the insight lies so far as these islands are concerned. This option says that because they increase the number of observations available to historians, because nowhere has the author talked about how the number of observations were a problem and they need to be increased in number. Isolated islands, while we will give, will for some reason, because they're isolated, they're going to provide you more number of observations. No, number of observations can be increased across any kind of geography, and moreover, again, it does not talk about it talks about neither the effect part, nor does it talk about the cause part. So you again can be eliminated with the capital E. Next, option C. Isolated islands differing in their endowments and size may evolve differently and this difference will be attributed to their endowments in size. Guys, what does endowment mean? Endowments is basically any kind of inherent characteristic or aspect of the island. Like for example, the seasons distributed, the way the seasons are distributed across the year on the island, the flora and fauna, the vegetation, anything that the island has had since a long time, that may play a role as a causative factor in the evolution of human history. So when this option says endowments and size, these are your causative factors. It has taken care of the causative factors part, right? It has taken care of this. It says isolated islands getting differing in their causative factors may evolve differently, and this difference may evolve differently. So it has also taken care of the effect part, right? It has also taken care of the effect part now. May evolve differently, and this difference might be attributed to your to their endowments and size, that is the causative factors. So this is exactly why the author has asked the historians to study to compare isolated islands, right? So this will be selected with a capital S. This is definitely the correct answer. We'll still read the other options and see what they are about. Next, option D says isolated islands differing in their endowments and size. Now, even this option, the first part is totally apt. Differing, it has taken care of the cause. Endowments and size refer to the causative effect, right? So provide a good comparison to large islands such as Eurasia, Africa, Americas, and Australia. Now, the problem with this option is that it has gone too specific and too narrow, which the author hasn't implied or hinted or stated anywhere in the passage. All the author says is the author simply asks the historians to consider isolated islands also for comparison as natural systems. Now, what to compare them with? Should they be compared with the large continents? Should they be compared with more like maybe some other smaller regions or something? He hasn't said that. That's a different discussion. That's a discussion that has to be had at the next step, right? Okay, what kind of causative factors do you want to discuss? Depending on that, you might select a different region to compare them with. That's the so the option is quite narrow. First of all, the author hasn't said that they should be compared with. The author simply says that they should be brought into the purview of comparison. First, second, this option says refers Eurasia, Africa, Americas, and Australia as large islands. These have been considered as 5 inhabited continents. Although continents are of course islands, but the reference is still not absolutely accurate. Okay, so this is also a tiny reservation that we have with this option. But the main reservation is that it is too narrow. The author doesn't talk about what the islands should be compared with, right? So hence this can also be eliminated with a capital E. Last option, isolated islands insofar as they are inhabited arouse curiosity about how human beings evolved there. Okay, does not mention if effect. See, how they evolved differently would have been the effect, not just how they evolved there. So it does not mention the effect, does not says nothing about the causative factors. So which were the main thrust of us the author mentioning the isolated islands was concerned, right? So again, so this is can again be eliminated with the capital E. Okay, so your correct answer, guys, will thus be option C. Okay. Question 2. According to the author, why is prediction difficult in history? The apt point of reference is here, where the author notes to varying degrees each of these fields is plagued by the impossibility of performing replicated, controlled, experimental interventions and like so on. So guys, if you recall, we had noted this, we had discussed this in detail in the passage explainer that because in case of history, it's not possible to differentially check the effect of each cause, right? For example, we took the instance of independence of our country. So if there were multiple causes involved in the independence of a country, how like there's no way we can uh, perform 4 simulations where we allow only one of the causes to be switched on and see what kind of effect it has on the outcome, right? So this is not possible as opposed to other sciences because well the event has already transpired, and as a result of which they are not able to establish proper cause and effect relationships. Not, leading to not being able to establish universal laws, as he says here, universal laws, impossibility of formulating universal laws, and hence, because they don't have universal laws formulated, based on which they could have otherwise predicted something in the future, but because they don't have those universal laws, they can't predict anything in the future, right? That's the problem. So the problem, the root cause is because it's impossible for them to replicate control experimental interventions, right? These simulations of cause and effect and check. So in light of that, let's look at the options. The first one says prediction is difficult in history because historical explanations are usually broad so that no prediction is possible. So because historical explanations are broad, no prediction is possible. Well, why don't we just narrow down the historical explanations? In that case, will prediction be possible? No, the author hasn't linked historical explanations to anything here. Okay, so definitely incorrect. This option is next option B. Historical outcomes depend on a large number of factors, and hence prediction is difficult for each case. This comes close because the author has in fact talked about that. He says that historical outcomes for specific cases. Okay, he doesn't say for all, he doesn't say this for all types of historical outcomes. He says for specific pinpointed cases, right? He knows it here that he says prediction in history is most feasible on large spatial scales, but in unique cases, in small cases, it is not possible, right? He gives the example of how he can predict the sex ratio of the next 1,000 newborns, but not the sexes of his own 2 children, right? So far as like they do depend, historical outcomes do depend on large number of factors, and hence prediction is difficult for each case, but this is restricted only to very specific small scale scenarios, like the prediction of the sexes of the gender of 2 children of a child. This has not been given as the reason, the general reason why in history prediction is difficult. This is the reason why prediction of very specific unique outcomes is difficult. Okay, so this comes close but still will be eliminated with a capital E. Next, historical sciences by their very nature are not interested in a multitude of minor factors. No, the author doesn't say anything about whether they are interested or not interested, right? So you can eliminate this with a capital E. Let's still finish reading the option. In a multitude of minor factors, which might be important in a specific historical outcome, but no, are not interested is definitely a deal breaker. You have to eliminate this option. Next, historians are interested in evolution of human history and hence are only interested in long-term predictions. So this option seems to imply because prediction is difficult in history because historians go interested in it. They're not interested in doing predictions. So that's why it's difficult. No, the author does not say, hasn't said this anywhere in the passage. It just seems to be an attempt at humor by the question setter, option D. So again, eliminated with a capital E. Option E, historical sciences suffer from the inability to conduct controlled experiments. Yes, right? uh, it says replicated control experiment interventions. So, sciences suffer from the inability to conduct controlled experiments and therefore have explanations based on a few long-term factors. Okay, and therefore explanations are only based on a few long-term factors, and that's the reason why prediction is difficult. Like they can only tell you broadly what might happen. They won't be able to predict anything in particular. Okay, so that will be your answer here, guys, with a capital S, option E. Okay. Coming to question number 3. According to the author, which of the following statements would be true? Okay, so let's look at the options. First one says, students of history are missing significant opportunities by not conducting any natural experiments. Now, so far as the first part of this option is concerned, it seems all right that they are missing significant opportunities. The author, in fact, might believe this to be true because he points out in the third paragraph that the student of human history can draw on many more natural experiments than just comparisons among the 5 inhabited continents. So he does seem to be implying that there are many geographies available for natural experiments than just these 5 components, and then you might be missing opportunities if they are not considered. So that's fair. Like that's something that we don't have any objection with. But the problem is with the second part, where it says by not conducting any natural experiments. See, guys, natural experiments are references to natural systems which are already present in the geography around us, and the historians are simply supposed to study them. for different causative factors. Uh, they are not actually like some sort of experiments that need to be conducted. Okay, and in fact, that's the reason why the author uses the expression so-called natural experiments when he introduces this term for the first time. He says so-called natural experiments because experiments as a word, it might imply that it's something to be conducted at this point from some point of time onwards. But these are actually just systems that need to be studied, right? And that's why he calls them so-called. So that's the reason why you'll eliminate option A. Option B, complex societies inhabiting large islands provide great opportunities for natural experiments. This option has been distorted by omitting the most important part that the author, most important part with respect to this point when the author mentions this point, right? This is where the author talks about it. He says that comparisons can also utilize large islands that have developed complex societies in a considerable degree of isolation. That's the most important part. Complex societies that have developed in a considerable degree of isolation. The isolation part was the most important part, and the option totally omits that part. It has simply restricted itself to uh, complex societies inhabiting large islands provide great opportunities for natural experiments. So that's a distortion, right? So a rare case of error of omission. So you can eliminate this option also with a capital E. Next, students of history are missing significant opportunities. Again, like that is something that the author has implied. The first part is all right. By not studying an adequate variety of natural experiments. Yes, that's true. That's exactly what he means to say. He says that like you don't need to be limited. The point of reference is right here, right? Among can draw on many more natural experiments than just comparisons among the 5 inhabited continents. Like there are many more just apart from just these 5. You can use these large islands which have developed societies in isolation. Then you can use societies on hundreds of smaller islands and regional societies, etc., etc., etc. So students of history are missing significant opportunities by not studying an adequate variety of natural experiments. So this can be an answer. I'll mark this as a small s. The reason why I'm not marking this as a capital S and rather as a small s, because this option still seems to imply like this is still the by not studying part is not something that is directly mentioned in the passage. Like we need to infer this by a slight stretch, and that's the reason why I've marked it as a small s for now. Okay, let's look at the next option. A unique problem faced by historians is their inability to establish cause and effect relationships. Historians have faced this problem, that is true, right? But is it a unique problem that they have faced? No. The author, in fact, says that the difficulties historians face in establishing cause and effect relations in the history of human societies are broadly similar to the difficulties faced by astronomers, climatologists, etc., etc., etc. So it's not a unique problem that they face, right? So that's definitely a concern with this option, and you can eliminate this with the capital E thus. Option E, cultural anthropologists have overcome the problem of confounding variables through natural experiments. Like many students might have fallen for this trap because the author does mention that a certain domain of study of history has actually overcome this problem. But the thing is, it is not the cultural anthropologists who overcame this problem. It was the epidemiologists, right? In particular, he says epidemiology, the science of drawing inferences about human diseases by comparing groups of people, blah, 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 has for a long time successfully employed formalized procedures for dealing with problems similar to those facing historians of human societies, like the problems that he has mentioned earlier in the earlier part of this paragraph. So it is the epidemiologists who have overcome this problem, not the cultural anthropologists. Okay, so you can eliminate this option as well with a capital E. Your correct answer, guys, will thus be option C. Okay. Okay, guys. So coming to the vocabulary part, now the way we'll go about this is I have marked some of the words which I figured that some of you guys may have found challenging while reading the passage, and I provided the primarily contextual meanings of the words on the right side. Well, I will not be taking you through each and every word or discussing them here because we're going to have separate vocab courses as in different playlists. And yeah, so the way you're supposed to get through this is like pause the video, go through the word in its context, and then check the meaning of the word, right? So that'll help you internalize the meaning of the word for future. Okay, so coming to the passage analysis part, we'll start with the first parameter, which is genre. So, guys, again, if you found, if you, for those of you who might have found it difficult to understand the passage in terms of terminology or comprehend the passage in terms of the ideas discussed here, it will then definitely benefit you if you read some more content from this particular genre from which to which the passage belongs. Next, readability of the passage the readability has been rated on a scale of 1 to 10, which is based on a variant of Flesch Kincat scale. The scale is quite ubiquitously, used across all domains, all genres, and all domains of writing, and it's quite reliable. So yeah. So again, so if you found if your accuracy was really less and this passage happens to be if the readability happens to be quite high of this passage, then definitely makes a case that you might want to practice more with passages that are more difficult to comprehend. Okay. Next, passage length. Please think of the passage length not just in terms of words, but rather in terms of number of words per question, right? So that again can have a bearing on what steps you might want to take to recalibrate your approach. In terms of, like, let's suppose if you found your accuracy to be quite less, if the passage was too long, then you might want to concentrate on longer passages. Ideal time for the passage to read the passage and ideal time to answer the questions, and total ideal time has been mentioned here. And finally, I've provided here you a couple of articles which belong to the same genre and are kind of on the related topic, so that you can get more exposure in this particular genre and in this genre basically. Okay, all right. Okay, guys. So with this, we are done with the fifth passage of this genre, difficulties historians face. And again, for those of you who have not watched the other passages, the other RCs, or solved the other RCs, you can do so by going to the playlist of the channel, an anthology of RCs, where the links to attempt the RCs are all available in the description of the respective videos. Okay, so yeah. Okay, and finally, we are done with the session. So now, those of you who might have not watched the passage explainer, the part one of this RC, you can do so by clicking here. It will lead you to the respective video, and you can also find the link of the video in the description. And those of you who would like to check out the intro, or maybe the whole playlist, you can click here. This will take you to the playlist. And do subscribe and share if you like the channel. Do put your feedback in the comment section if you liked it, or there's something that you would want to have added. And yes, that's about it, guys. Thanks. See you in the next one.